welcome back to the Read All Over show presented by Lit Carnivale and me, your host, Toy Thomas, author, blogger, and reading advocate. I am so excited to share today's guest with you. Brenda V. Covert is an author and editor, host of the Write2Ignite Podcast, and author of Meanwhile Back at the Manger. Brenda loves helping writers grow, so let's meet Brenda Covert. Hi.
Hey there.
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I'm probably just maybe too excited.
Well, I'm excited. I mean, I always get excited for these types of interviews. So
The
before I
adrenaline
start,
is going.
before I start shooting questions, just tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Oh boy, where do I start? I was raised in the cornfields of southern Indiana, southern Illinois. Um, Went to college in the Southeast and then ended up staying here, getting married, adopted children, um, got left, raised my children on my own as a homeschooling parent. Always loved writing, always loved reading from a very young age. I mean, I was mad the first day I came home from kindergarten that they had not taught me how to read yet. I still couldn't read a book.
Yeah, I can kind of relate to that. I don't know if I was mad, but yeah.
I was mad, and I think my brother, well, he was mad that he wasn't done after a week.
Yeah, I can feel that
He
as
was
well.
he was ready to be done with school. But so I was raised in a Christian home, went to Christian college. Um, Always enjoyed reading, and actually enjoyed editing too. Like in school, when they would hand you somebody else's paper and you could put little red marks on it, and shame on me, but I enjoyed that. So that kind of made it natural to become an editor. So I'd say I fell into reading and editing. I mean, writing and editing, but it really was a God thing
Yeah.
where I needed work. And it's like, guess what? Here's a place that's looking for teachers who are also authors. And I was like, well, I'm homeschooling. And I got the job because that was good enough. And then the next
Yeah.
thing you know, I'm asked if I would like to edit too. It's like, would I?
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I have a background in education as well, and I definitely see the correlation between, being in that educational environment and then also like reading, writing. Uh, I'm not an editor, but I understand how those skills go together. So
Yeah.
I want to start the first segment of this interview, which you've already mentioned. So I think you're going to just love this part. It's called On the Bookshelf, and this is where we get to learn more about you as a reader. So let's talk about your childhood reading experience. What was your favorite book as a kid?
Um, there was this book, and I have to say, I loved Dr. Seuss books, but my mom did not, so we had none in the house. I could only read Dr. Seuss at school.
Mm.
But we had a book called The Rabbit, the Skunk, and the Big Scary Rock, I think was the name of it.
Okay.
And, so it was presented like a mystery. And the end was a surprise ending that, to me was hilarious. So I love humor and I love mysteries. And so that little book and I think it was a rabbit and a skunk, there were three animals and one was hiding behind the scary rock.
Gotcha.
So, and throwing things.
I like
I
that.
know it's silly, but I liked that. And I know Mom had also had us in one of those book clubs that sent hardback picture books. So I loved a lot of those, like Miss Twiggly's Tree and The Old Black Witch, which was also funny. Miss Twiggly's Tree was probably funny too. Fletcher, Fletcher, somehow Fletcher the dog was hatched from an egg, and I still have that one, but I can't
Okay.
remember the exact title. But he thought his boy would love him more if he came out of an egg because he seemed to love some birds more than he loved his dog. I don't know.
My goodness.
So it was a fake egg. So I would say very creative stories. I always liked something creative and with some humor.
Yeah. I remember when I was growing up, there were the Golden Book series.
Yes.
Anything that was in that I absolutely adored. I remember reading The Little Engine That Could, and I was just like, this is the most greatest thing ever.
My favorite little golden book, I think, was called God's Creation. And
Okay.
it had pictures of everything. Like there was a child blowing a dandelion puff, and all of those
Yeah.
put away and pictures of, I mean, it probably has pictures of big things, but I just remember the little intricate details, like
Yeah.
all these little insects that
Yeah.
God had created. And I loved the pictures in that
Yeah.
book.
Yeah. I definitely picture books are like the gateway. You start with those and you move up from there.
Absolutely. Now, my mom also would read us Sunday school take-home papers. So, like, I don't know, every day or once a week. But I loved those too. And
Yeah.
I don't know if those came before picture books or after picture books. But it was like a family thing, my brother and me and my mom. They used to
Yeah.
read stories.
I remember having a book. Of course, I don't remember what it's called, but it was all of the like Bible stories, but they were all like illustrated stories for like kids. And it took you like all the way through it. And I remember loving to like read through that story as a kid as well.
Yeah, I think I've got like three different ones. And my oldest grandchild is 8. And one Sunday she decided she wanted to take one of those Bibles to church, and she was sitting in the back seat reading it aloud all the way there. I just could have cried because the year before she struggled so hard to read.
Yeah.
And now second grade, it's like, oh, it's easy now. Love it.
So, what story or book would you say first sparked your interest from just being a reader to maybe I could write stories too? Is there a book that did that for you?
Hmm. I'm I would say two series. One when I was younger and one when I was a little older. When I was younger, I got into the Wizard of Oz books, and there are so many.
No.
It's like until you learn to read and go to the library, you have no idea how many books there
I
are.
know. I think there's like 14, maybe.
There are a lot.
Yeah.
TikTok of Oz,
Yep.
Ozma of Oz.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
all of these characters, and I loved those, and I think I would have liked to have continued that. But then when I got to be like just to my teenage years, I discovered the not Nancy Drew. I was not a fan of hers. Trixie Belden, the Trixie Belden
Yeah.
mystery series, where she started out being maybe 13
Mhm.
and she rode horses,
Yeah.
and they had a whole club, so boys and girls, and I loved those. And there are 38 of those, and I have the first 34.
Oh,
The
wow.
last four, I guess they were coming to the end of anything new to write. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess they didn't publish as many because you can't find them. If you do, it's in an exorbitant price
Sure.
that I'm not willing to pay. But what was funny about those, they were all written under the same pseudonym,
Right.
but it was different writers.
Yeah.
So some of them, the kids actually went to church on Sundays and might even talk about a Bible story. And then in another book, church is never mentioned. They're just, their weekends are for riding horses and solving mysteries. And so like you could tell as an adult, I could
Yeah.
tell as I'm reading
Yeah.
along, okay, somebody different wrote this one.
Yeah, I remember going back to read some of those Wizard of Oz books like as an adult. And I don't remember which one it is, like off the top of my head, but I remember getting to the end of it because when you're a kid, I don't think you ever think about reading the front matter and back matter. And there's a
Mhm.
letter in the back of one where Frank Obama is like, I'm not writing any more stories. And then more stories came out. And I'm like, how did I not know this? All of these, I mean, obviously as an adult, but as a kid, I was just like, yeah, he just keeps cranking out these books. Yeah.
I guess it wasn't him.
No, so he wrote like the first couple of ones, but after a while, he actually does put a letter in the back of the book telling Dorothy that someone else was gonna write her adventures or like it's I was like, what? Yeah.
Yeah, that could give you an idea. Well, hey, maybe that could be me.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. All right. One more question about your reading experiences. Is there like a preferred place or like an ideal setting for you to like just sit down and enjoy a good read?
I'm fine on the corner of my couch.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not outside because, bugs.
I have this tradition every year. I'm not kidding. When we have like a nice warm day, I try to go outside and read, and I last maybe 5 minutes, and I'm like, that's enough of that. Back inside.
The dream is just much better than reality.
Yeah, yeah,
Because you're just like, yeah, let's go on a picnic. And it's so much work, and there's bugs and wind, and the weather's not just, the way you want it. It's either too warm or too cold.
yeah.
And you're just like, what was I thinking? But when you were a kid, none of that mattered.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was all great. You didn't have to do
Well,
any of the work. So, of course, it was great.
yeah. You don't remember that there was, ants and sand and all kinds of stuff. All
Shoot,
right.
it was fun.
So we've gotten to know you a little bit as a reader. We're going to move on to what I call the open book, and we're going to learn a little bit about you as a writer. You did already talk a little bit about how, you were a homeschool teacher and you moved into this position and editing became part of that. So the question that I want to talk about is not necessarily like how you started to write, but maybe why. Like, what was your why in the midst of your experiences where you decided, I'm going to write a book?
Hmm. I don't know. I just wanted to. I mean, when you're a kid and you write something like you write something for a class project and you think it's really awesome, and then you grow older and it was not awesome at all.
Yeah.
You're like, I can do better than that.
Yes.
And I would have really vivid, detailed dreams, and in a lot of them, there's a mystery that I'm trying to solve, or I'm trying to save my family, and the dream is never finished. You wake up before the ending, so there's just a desire to finish something.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I enjoy taking what's in my mind and bringing it out so other people can see it, just fleshing it out with words.
Yeah. I like that.
I mean, I'm going to assume that God put it in there, put a little seed of me wanting to be a writer in there. You
Yeah.
certainly don't really make any money at it. So that was not the reason.
But no, I think you raise a good point. I think a lot of times people have this notion that you get to choose certain things, but I think some things are just kind of maybe part of you. Like you said, this is God put this in me, like this is part of who I am, and I'm a writer. Yeah.
Yeah, not to make a whole lot of money at it. I mean, I do know a lot of people, and I did think this myself, oh no, we're having financial problems. I know I'll write something and make a lot of money. And I don't know anybody that ever worked for. And I mean, seriously, this book, well, this was funny because I was struggling a few years ago. And somebody said, well, why don't you write a book?
Oh yeah,
And
that
seriously, and I had already been writing a book, and I already had, by the time this particular person said that, I had already got a contract.
mhm.
And it's like, okay, it took me 2 years to write the book, then it took 2 more years to be published. So far, I have not received my first royalty check yet. So we're getting close to 5 years here. If you're trying to pay some bills, writing a book is not the way to go about it. If you have an emergency, there's better ways to get emergency funds than to write a book.
That's true. I think a lot of people don't understand. I mean, and I'm not saying that, these things don't happen, but for most writers, it's the love, it's the passion of the writing itself, not the other stuff is beneficial. It's extra, it's luxury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's the dream that you're gonna be famous, but do you really want to be?
Yeah.
When you look at what all they have to go through and all of the online drama,
Yeah.
like and everybody picking apart everything you say.
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
can
I
tell.
remember one time I was in the news, but I didn't react. I didn't get drawn in. But I had chosen to use the word, because it was for second graders,
Mhm.
shoot instead of blast, about going into space.
Oh.
And there were people claiming that I used the word shoot because I wanted certain peoples to be shot.
No.
And it's like I use the word shoot because it's easier to read than blast.
Right. Yeah.
And we're
But
talking
see,
about space. It's like, do you understand? We're talking about getting a rocket going to space.
that's the thing about fame. I mean, you could be on top of the world one minute and you're canceled the next. I mean, I think it would be nice to make a living as a writer, but not necessarily to be like that big, huge writer where everyone is like on just listening and watching every moment of your life.
Yeah, and half of them, critical and just waiting for you to trip up or stumble over your words, and
Yeah.
you didn't hear yourself say that. Oh, yes, you did, and that's what you meant. No,
No grace. But
no.
let's talk about your actual drafting process. Everyone has like a different like method. I know for a while there, Scrivener was like the thing that everybody was doing. You couldn't find someone who wasn't writing a book if they weren't using the program Scrivener. And then you have old school people who write everything out like on notebooks and then have it like transcribed and note cards and people who are doing voice to speech and they have the whole novel spoken out. I mean, there's so many ways that
Yeah.
people draft. Tell us a little bit about how you draft stories.
Okay. Well, I'm left-handed, so when I wrote things out, I smeared the ink or the pencil across the page. So I love typing on my
Oh.
laptop. And I don't really know how to use Scrivener. I just use Microsoft Word
Mm-hmm.
and type. Now, a lot of people say just get the whole thing down on paper first and then go back, but I got stuck, so I went back to the beginning and revised
Mm-hmm.
because if I get blocked on a section, I'm just going to go back and, let me start over. Let me see what I could do to fix here. And then while I'm doing that, I'm probably going to get an idea for the problem I had, and then I can keep going. But I don't have anything special. I
I
use Perfect It for consistency, so that is a nice software to have.
what's it called?
Perfect It.
Perfect it. Okay.
So it's like a proofreading software, but it's more like consistencies to make sure, you haven't what would I say? Like I somehow it can detect if you've written things a certain way and then you change it to a different way, or you've written a name one way and then you change the name the
Oh,
way you spelled it. I mean, because those things, your brain knows what you meant, so you don't see it,
yeah,
but the
I've
program can
done that
see it.
before. Yeah, where I
Mhm.
wrote a character's name one way, then 2 pages later wrote it a different way. And I didn't find it until I had someone else give me feedback and be like, you changed this person's name. I'm like, thank you for finding that for me. I did not.
Yeah, so Perfected is good for things like that, and also taking out extra spaces that you may have put in. Um, yeah, I can't think. I mean, I like it, and I've used it for years. But that's after I've done my own writing. It's not a kind of thing like Grammarly might give you suggestions for how to rewrite something. Perfect It doesn't do that.
Oh, okay. It just finds the stuff and you got to figure it out.
Yeah, it finds things like, did you mean this or did you want this? Here's two ways you could have put this. Which one do you want to go through? Because I found both of them in your book. Like if you have a compound word and sometimes it could have a hyphen in it and then other times it doesn't have a hyphen in it, and maybe even also it's divided into two separate words, and it'll say, okay, so for consistency, which one do you want to use throughout the book?
Oh, well, that's
So
good.
that's handy because those are things you're not gonna catch on your own.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and that it's easier in a picture book than it is in a novel. Novel, you're not gonna catch it in a novel.
No. Novels, I mean, that's why everybody like has their own method, but I really think you just cannot beat having someone else look at your work. So when it comes to a novel, because it's
Absolutely.
so much.
Even editors who write have editors.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Okay. One more question about writing, which goes into this also. Sometimes, and I'll just use myself as an example. I will um, had a long day, haven't had a creative thought in my head, and I'm just about to put my head down on the pillow and I get a thought. And I'm like, oh, that could be a good story, but do I have enough energy to like jot it down? Like, so what do you do when you have those moments where you've got this creative thought? You know you can't do anything with it right now, but you don't want to lose it.
I'd say most times I lose it, but I do have a notebook, full of ideas. But if it's not handy, I'm probably going to try to tell myself, the plot a couple of times. But I don't keep anything by my bed. I know some people do.
Yeah.
But if I kept it by my bed, I wouldn't have a thought there. That's just.
Yeah, understandable. All right.
Oh, oh, and you mentioned some people, dictate their story.
Yeah.
And I tried that and I felt stupid. So it
You know,
just, it,
I actually
it didn't sound normal.
I found that it didn't help me as far as like creative writing, but like sometimes if I'm doing like a blog post or something, it could be a good way to just to get it down and edit it later. So maybe try it for
Yeah.
something non-creative.
Yeah. And I have done that before with ideas, but I was writing, it was probably a novel. I was trying to write a novel and I thought, that would be so easy if I could just, and then you can get one of those, text, what, dictation to text, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's
And that would be so easy, but it would
voice
just,
to text. Yeah.
I can think up better words in my head than ever come out my mouth, I guess. I guess that's the problem because, what I dictated was stupid. It was stupid.
No, I'm sure it wasn't stupid. It just sound like listening, like I do like these interviews and stuff all the time and I share them with the world, but if I have to sit and like listen to myself, I'm just like, why did I say that? Why do I sound like that? What's wrong with me?
Well, you know what I do? I listen to the podcast that I have done, and I don't remember saying half of that stuff. I'm like, wow, where did that come from? That's
Yeah.
amazing. I amaze myself. Are we sure that was me?
Yeah.
Because I was so nervous that I don't know. I quit listening, and next thing you know, it's over, and I
Well,
participated. Don't know how.
I'm glad that you actually mentioned that because that's the perfect segue into the next sequence where we talk about your work. So, for this segment of book signing, I'm usually just focusing on the book, but I figured I'd ask you a question or two about your podcast as well. So, let's talk a little bit about, let me make sure I have this written down correctly. It's called Write2Ignite. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, well, Write2Ignite is actually an organization that has been around since the mid 2000s, and it was an annual writers conference for children's authors, for Christian or clean writing for children's up to young adult. And I was invited to participate, I would say about 10 years ago, 10, 11 years ago,
Okay.
as an editor. And I had so much fun. So then they asked if I wanted to be on the leadership team, and I'm like, sure. And then COVID happened and we couldn't have the conferences in person. So we pivoted and do master classes now. And even though we could meet in person now, it has just been easier to do master classes virtually. So last year, someone was like, you know what? We ought to do a podcast.
Okay.
And Kyle Morgan, who is my co-host, had I mean, he's like a recent in the last couple of years college graduate, so much younger than me, and the male perspective. So it's really cool that we can work together. But he had taken a class in, I'm not sure what exactly the class was, but he did have to create a podcast as a project.
Okay.
So, and he could do the editing and everything. He learned all of those things in college. And so he volunteered for that right away. And then I was like, count me in. If I don't have to do any editing, I will be there. I will help get people we'll get our guests and I'll help ask questions. Like,
Nice.
how hard can it be? I listen to podcasts. How hard can it be?
Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into this.
It does. It does. So I do more than I thought I was going to do. But it's still fun
Yeah,
because here's the thing with the podcast, when you are in control, you ask the questions that you want the answers to. So
exactly.
we're talking to other authors, it's how did you do this? What do you do for marketing? How do you come up with your ideas? What makes this, what made you such a comedian? Just anything you could think of. Or how do you market your books? What different things you do? The things that we maybe don't know. I mean, we also ask questions that we assume that our listeners want to know, but we're always going to ask questions that we need the answer to. It's like
Yeah.
we're getting all this free information. I mean, everybody should want to be a podcaster.
I know you learn so much.
Hmm.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that. But now I want to talk about your book, Meanwhile Back at the Manger. I want to know where did the idea for the story come from?
Well, it's funny because I have loved Christmas ever since I was a kid, and it was brought to my attention that I probably wanted to write a retelling of the Christmas story because when I was in second grade, one of my art projects in class was a drawing of the Nativity, and my teacher asked if she could use it on the bulletin board.
Oh,
And then the following year, when I was in third grade, she came to my class and came in and asked if she could use it again on her bulletin board. And that never occurred to me. But I do love Christmas
mm-hmm.
and I do love the Christmas story. And I was actually taking a Write2Ignite master class, and Laura Sassy, who is a prolific children's author, was doing the class on picture books. And like I believe it was seven different styles of picture books. So I'm sitting there and I'm taking notes and this is interesting. And then she got to the parallel style. And that is what you would remember maybe from childhood. You're probably not as old as me though. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, meanwhile, back at the farm,
Yeah,
those kinds of stories
yeah,
where you're telling what's happening away from the place and so it keeps cutting back and forth. So parallel telling, this is what's happening here, this is what's happening over here. And when she said that, meanwhile, back at the manger just popped into my head. And I'm like, oh my stars, I have an idea. Oh boy. And then we broke out into we had small group breakout sessions, like 6 people in the little room, and you could talk about your ideas, telling everybody about my idea because I was so excited. It took me 2 years to write it, mainly because I'm a big old procrastinator. But there was another master class coming up that was on how to write um, hooks, somethings and proposals, things to how to, to try to find, it was about how to try to find a publisher for your book. So at that point, I'm like, I have got to finish this. I've got to buckle down. I have got
yeah,
to finish this book because this instructor is going to help each of us specifically. Anybody that has a letter, she's going to help us perfect it.
yeah.
So I had to get it done at that point because I mean, if you don't give me a deadline, I may take the rest of my life writing something. So, so I buckled down, got it done, wrote a letter. She rewrote it for me. It was really good, I thought. And so the second publisher that I went with took 4 months, but then they did offer me a contract. So that was very exciting.
Yeah,
And here is a copy of my book.
so beautiful.
I
Now,
know I love the colors. I
did
told them
you?
I didn't want it to look just like every other nativity book, which they kind of ignored part of that. It didn't have the
Oh,
cover that I asked for, but the colors were amazing and I am happy with it.
yeah. So that's actually I was going to ask you about the images in the book. Like, did you get to work closely with the artist, or was it just kind of like this is what we're doing? What do you think, kind of thing?
They were luckily because it's a smaller publisher, you can have more input.
Okay.
And so, like, if you're with a big publisher, they're probably not going to ask your opinion on anything. I mean, I've known a few authors where they were not happy with the cover art or even the font, but they didn't get an option. But for this one, I didn't work with the illustrator. Like, what am I trying to say? We had a go-between. Okay,
Okay.
so the art director for the publishing house was the go-between. So the illustrator would give sketches to the art director, who would then send them to me and ask what I thought. And I would say, well, can we put this here? And he looks a little bit too old. Can we make him younger? That sort of thing. And then she would go back and have the artist do some revisions and then send it back again. And I try not to be too picky. So usually just one go around would be it, and I would say that's great. And I have to say, I was worried because the sketches were not, in my because they're sketches. So of course they weren't, publishing ready, but I was afraid that they were not going to be all that great. But once she got the okay and smooth things out and add the color and added, shading and stuff, and it's like, oh, it
Yeah,
does look professional. It is going to be a professional book.
that's good. Yeah, that whole collaboration between, the author and then whoever it is that's helping, put those illustrations together, that can be a very like anxiety inducing collaboration, but
Yeah,
very
see, and I don't
necessary.
even know how she felt about my coming back with, hey, well, can we put this over here and move that? Or the very first picture is like, well, this stable is too clean. Can we put a cow pie right down?
Oh
Can,
man.
can you add flies around it? Because, I was raised around farms.
Yeah.
They are not clean. And Mary and Joseph would not have most likely have walked into a clean stable unless there was a stable boy.
Yeah.
Which, that was my point of view, was from a stable boy who really didn't want to have to clean up a stinky place. But yeah, so I don't know how the artist felt about my changes, but I tried not to have too many.
Yeah. All right. Well, I like this kind of little twist spin that you have on the story, saying that it's from the perspective of the stable boy. What gave you the idea to do it from that perspective?
Well, that was me thinking about, growing up on the farm and, stepping in a dried cow pie that wasn't quite dry.
Oh
And,
no.
I collect Christmas picture books, and quite a lot of them are retellings of the Christmas story. So I've seen, from the point of view of, the donkey or the lamb, or different animals. There was one from the star. I mean, there's been a Christmas star point of view in one from the angel's point of view. Um, and when I was, let's say, middle school age, I played the innkeeper's daughter.
Okay.
So I've known a story from her point of view, from the innkeeper's point of view, which Jesus' birthday party is a picture book written from the innkeeper's point of view, which is so hilarious. My daughter loved that when she was little. Now my granddaughters love it because I still have that book. So I heard of all those. Well, you don't want to do the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got to, and what my what the publisher told me, later, was that they get too many Christmas picture book stories. And they look for something that sets it apart. And mine, because it was a stable boy, they were like, yeah, we need to get this one because it was different. But it was really just me thinking how messy it is. But, I have a nativity and there's nothing messy in there.
Yeah.
And, I could look at all the picture books, and the floor is just neat and tidy, and all of them, the hay is not messy at all. There's just nothing messy. And I thought, well, in reality, somebody would have to be keeping it that clean. It's just because animals don't know.
Right. Yeah.
They're not cleaning up after themselves. And cows just go wherever they happen to be. So yeah, it was just really from being raised not on a farm, but both of my grandparents had farms. So
Yeah.
my childhood was spent on a farm a lot. So it just occurred to me, even though the Bible doesn't mention one, there had to have been somebody in charge of keeping the stables and the animals taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have this I don't think I would call it a philosophy or anything, but I'm always saying that whenever a writer, puts something out there and to share it with the world, there's some element, whether it's big or small, minute, whatever, about what they're writing that's autobiographical. And you had this experience and you know that stables aren't clean, and that helped inform the story that you wrote. And that's right. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for letting us get to know you as a reader, a writer, finding out more about your book. But now I'm just gonna ask a couple of silly questions before we head out, just to get to know you, Brenda.
Okay.
The first question is, and I thought this was a really good question. What is your favorite word and why?
Yay! You are my first person to ask me that. My favorite word is shenanigans.
That's a good one.
Shenanigans sounds fun. They should be fun. In the 60s, it was a board game that was so much fun. My brother and I loved the game Shenanigans, and everybody should have some shenanigans in their life.
I remember
Kids love shenanigans.
I remember using the word shenanigans like naturally without like any preempt or anything like that when I was in college, and I used it and my roommate was like, shenanigans? Who says that word? And I was like, I guess I knew.
It's possible it could be from the 50s or even older. I
Yeah.
don't know, but it's a fun word.
It is
It's
a
a
fun
fun word.
word to say, shenanigans.
Yeah, because it doesn't sound criminal.
No, it sounds very silly.
Hmm.
All right. What would you say is your favorite memory or maybe a tradition that connects your love of storytelling to like that memory? Is there something that happened that connects to your love of storytelling?
Okay, well, this would not be my this is my most embarrassing story to do with storytelling. I'll just tell you my most embarrassing story because I haven't shared this one anywhere because it's really, really
Okay.
embarrassing. Okay, so I was in high school in English class, and we were supposed to write a story with a surprise ending,
Okay.
and I couldn't think of one. And she had told us specifically, do not end it with, and then I woke up. So
Oh, yeah.
you couldn't do that one. So it wasn't supposed to be copied. Well, I had an older cousin who liked spooky stories, and she had told me one that had a surprise ending. And I just assumed, because, I was not that bright, that she had made it up. And she had not
Oh
made it up.
no.
So I could tell you the story real quick, if it
Okay.
matters.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so it was there was a woman who lived alone, and on the radio it came on that there was a convicted killer on the loose. He had escaped from prison. Everybody keep your doors locked. Okay, so she kept her doors locked for 2 days, and on the third day she forgot. And I am doing a really condensed version. So
Yeah.
there was a knock at the door. She opened it, and there he stood. And he said, "See these hands? You know what I can do with these hands?" So
What? Oh, that's a surprise ending.
I didn't know I didn't see a written copy of it, so I rewrote it. And yeah, my teacher had heard that story before.
Oh,
So she didn't fail me, which she would have been within her rights because that was
right.
not original. I think she said this is an old story, nothing new.
Oh,
But she said I had some creative elements in it because I didn't have a written copy. So I was just making this up as I went along, thinking that it was my cousin Mary's story, but it was not. And I really was cheating. So I didn't get a good grade, but I didn't get an F. So
right.
that's my most embarrassing story. But it also propelled me to write a mystery someday. write my own with a surprise ending, with, just, something that's never been done before. And I've written a lot that were in reading comprehensions.
Oh,
We did,
okay.
so by the time my brain fully developed, I could handle the mystery with a surprise ending. But as a teenager, nope, I didn't have it.
Yeah, well, when you take away the option to say, and then I woke up, what else can you
Yeah,
do?
that would have been so easy.
Yeah. All right, let's do one more just for fun. What is something that you've done, but you thought you would never do it?
Two things.
Okay.
Two things that still make my heart race. Um, I went up in a helium balloon in the Gatlinburg area.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't a hot air balloon and it was tethered to the ground, but I think it went 2,000 feet up.
Oh.
And I would never have done that, but my daughter won tickets. So
Um,
it was free.
yeah.
So you do the free thing, whether you want to or not.
Because it's free. Yeah.
But I have to tell you, and it was a donut shaped basket, which I don't understand. So it's not like the baskets on a hot air balloon, but it was donut shaped with a hole down the center.
Oh.
So I could stand in the center and hold on to each side. And I told all the other people on there that if you wanted to go past me, you were going to have to go under my arms because I was not letting go.
I don't blame you. Wow.
Because, if I hold on really tight and it falls, I'm going to survive. And if, you
Total
know,
logic.
things are, yeah. And I also ducked down. I mean, I just could not stand at the edge and take pictures of the ground far below. So I just held my camera up over the top
Oh my goodness.
pictures so I could look later to see what I should have seen. Because, if I'm crouched in the bottom of the basket, also, I will not get hurt if we
Yeah,
plummet to the
totally
ground.
safe.
You couldn't even fall out because they had netting all around. You could not fall out. But
But still, that's really high and it's a balloon. So,
yeah. And the other one also had to do with height, and that was zip lining, which seems
oh,
like fun, except for you start way up high where you could
yeah.
plummet to your death. And my daughter wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And I didn't want her to die without me, so I had to go. And I was trying to get myself psyched up to step off the ledge, and she just jumped. And I was like, "Oh no, there she goes!" So I had to jump and go. And we went three times because you paid your money and went three times. So I said, "I'm getting my money's worth, whether I like it or
Yeah.
not." But I
Well,
haven't done it since.
I know one thing that I've never done, but I thought I would do it until someone else did it in front of me. Like I always thought that I would at some point in my life try bungee jumping. And so here's the reason why I've been scarred. It was in Las Vegas and it was at like this hotel and they had people like standing around like this pool. And they're like, we're gonna go take the people who are gonna bungee jump to go bungee jump. You guys wait here. What they didn't tell us was that when they bungee jumped, they came down above us over the
Oh.
pool. And so I was sitting there and I was like, and then it bounced back and I'm like, I'm never bungee jumping.
Nope, nope, nope. Well,
Do
I already knew not to do that because on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air,
it.
what was her name? Whitney?
What was, yeah.
He was asking her to marry him, and he bungee jumped, and he went splat at the end, and I'm like, nope, never, never, ever,
No.
never, never, never,
Yeah.
not even over water would I bungee jump.
Yeah. No, that was terrifying to see people coming at you. Yeah. And the people, they did it on purpose. They said they always, because whenever you go to this particular place, you have to have someone with you just in case you got get wobbly or whatever to take you home. And they say that they always tell people to wait by the pool, but they don't tell them that that's where the people are coming down. And I was like, what? That's crazy.
Yes, and if there was an accident there, it would be right on top of you. I just, like, no, no,
Yeah,
no.
like that. I don't think that's a good thing to do.
No, and you can have a heart attack. I
Like
mean,
I
fall
said,
backwards, hit your head. I mean,
yeah, that's why I'm never gonna do that. So that, yeah. All right. Well, I've had such a good time, Brenda. Thank you so much for coming by the Read Local show today. Before we sign off, I understand that you have a special offer for our listeners. Tell us all about it.
I do. One special listener is going to win a copy of my book. So I'm giving away Meanwhile Back at the Manger. And it just came out November 2025. So it's just, what, half a year old? It's
Yeah.
still my book baby. So yeah.
Thank
You can read the Christmas story from the point of view of the stable boy who would rather be fishing. And he does go
you.
fishing and found out that that was not even any less stinky than cleaning the stables.
Very nice. Go ahead and tell the listeners where they can find you or your work online.
Okay, so I feel like I'm everywhere, but I do have a website, www.brendacovert.com. My book's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books A Million, Walmart, pretty much anywhere that sells books. I think you can find my book. Oh, and my publisher, Ambassador International. So that one I think is ambassadorinternational.com.
All right. Thank
So
you.
yeah, a lot of places.
Awesome. As a thank you to our paid supporters of Lit Carnivale, Brenda Covert does have a sample that she's going to share with you. If you'd like to become a paid supporter of Lit Carnivale, please visit litcarnivale.substack.com to learn more. Until next time, everyone, stay safe, be blessed, and have fun reading. Real Over Show Season 3, Episode 2, starring Toy Thomas, featuring Brenda Covert. Produced by Toy Thomas in association with Toy Box of Words and Lit Carnivale. Directed by Toy Thomas. Real Over Show logo designed and trademarked by Lit Carnivale and Toy Thomas. Intro sequence designed by Toy Thomas with the use of royalty-free images sourced from pexels.com, as well as a featured guest image. Intro music, Sunset Dream by Teal, royalty-free. Images provided by Brenda Covert. Toy Thomas, Lit Carnivale, nor Toy Box of Words claim any rights to the images or video content provided. Book designs, advertisement provided by Toy Thomas. This episode contains copyrighted material, affiliate links and references, and trademark images and merchandise. Please visit our website to learn more at https://litcarnivale.com. Be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Thanks to the Lit Carnivale, Real Over Show community at Substack, YouTube, and wherever you can hear this podcast. Have fun reading.